friends, today I'm going to do my April wrap-up. So as you can tell, I am in my new location. Not everything is quite set up as I wanted it to be, but like after the initial first like 3 or 4 days when I really like unpacked everything, I kind of ended up just being like, I don't give a fuck. But yeah, I think this is absolutely perfectly fine. I'm sure things are going to change about this setup. We're trying to do like a setup on the attic so that I can film even when, you know, there's like people in the house or like people are being loud and talking and stuff like that. We're gonna figure that out eventually. For now, I'm gonna film in my little reading corner. If you watch my TBR, I was planning to read a lot, which did not... Well, okay, let me preface this by saying I read 8 things this month, but I only actually read 1 book, and all the other books were audiobooks. Now, I think sometimes I come across as someone who thinks that audiobooks are not reading. It's just that for me, I count pages as well. For me, it's not just about the books. At the end of the day, I want to consume stories, and you consume stories when you do that via audiobook as well. But for me, like the reading of pages is important too, and a lot of the times it does feel different for me to read, you know, a book like with my own eyes instead of just listening to it. So it does make me just a little bit sad that I wasn't really able to just, you know, like read more books physically, especially because I wanted to read so much, and I did think I had a lot of time, but I ended up not having nearly as much time as I thought. Moving just ended up being a lot more exhausting than I thought. And then I had some other stuff coming up, in like good stuff, nothing bad, but just other stuff that kind of kept me occupied. And then I started playing World of Warcraft a little bit earlier than I had planned to. And so it just it didn't quite go as I wanted it to go, especially, you know, with arcs as well. Like that's obviously a thing too. Like I have certain obligations. So I'm not super happy with April, not gonna lie. I'm still really happy that I managed to read 8 books, even though this was just the wildest month. So the first thing that I listened to in April was actually my favorite read of the whole month, and that was The Governor's Game by Tessa Dare, narrated by Mary Jane Wells. Obviously, like, it's been a while, and April felt forever long just because of all of the things that happened. So I'm trying to like kind of get my thoughts together out of the couple of notes that I wrote down. It was just another book that had me so emotional and like completely caught me off guard with being so emotional. Like I really just wasn't expecting to have that many feelings. I loved that the main character was half Filipino. That's really fucking cool, because historical romance does not tend to have a lot of diverse characters. Like there's obviously, I mean, I feel like there's a whole genre out there of male historical romance, but especially as far as like people of color, I think historical romance is very, very lacking. So I really wanted to point that out. I love both characters. Like in these books, really, you have clearly like the female main character, but the love interest just feels as a main character like just as much. And I enjoyed them both immensely. I think that the male character had really, really great development, and I also love that the female main character was like an astrologer and just kind of exploring that storyline. So there were just so many aspects and like literally nothing about it that I didn't like. So I loved it, gave it 5 out of 5 stars. Then I listened to Finding Yvonne by Brandy Colbert. Now this I was really looking forward to because I knew it was about a girl who really loved playing the violin and for whom this kind of was always the thing that she was going to do professionally. And then she kind of ends up falling out of love with it. And that's kind of the only thing that I knew about it. So this is something that really intrigues me as someone who made her like hobby and passion her job, and obviously having ups and downs with it. I just am always super intrigued by storylines like this, and I truly love that aspect. So many things just hit very close to home. This whole like, you know, people are telling you like, you're good, but like, where's the fire? Like you need a certain fire to make something creative like that your career. Otherwise you're not going to make it and you're not going to survive. And she was kind of like seeing that too, and she was understanding what people were telling her, but she was also like scared because that's literally the only thing she knows she wants to do and the only thing she thinks she's like capable of doing. And I love that so much. I think that is something that I've never seen before in any of the books that talk about things like this. Just the whole like, yeah, I kind of don't know what else to do. Like, this is literally the only thing that I can do. This is literally the only thing I can imagine myself in, because it's kind of been there the whole time. And that is something that I deeply, deeply related to. It was also very sex positive. I personally didn't really love the relationships portrayed in this, but I just really appreciated the way that it did talk about sex. And in general, I just think that the novel was a little bit too short. I think I would have loved it way, way more if there was more, if it had been longer, if there was more time to explore these relationships and to explore this main theme kind of. But definitely, if this is also a theme that intrigues you, I would absolutely recommend it. And I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. Then I listened to You by Caroline Kepnes, narrated by Santino Fontana, and I did not like this like at all. I'm literally still sitting here wondering what the fuck I was supposed to get out of this. Like, I don't think I got anything out of this. Like, I didn't think that it was enjoyable. I'm just kind of sitting here like, what was the point? Like, I kind of just don't get it. Like, when you read thrillers where, like, you know, you're in the female main character's head and you're like, you know, meeting a new guy, you're kind of like, oh my god, like, is the guy gonna do something? You know, like, when you're reading from this perspective, like, you just don't know what's up and you don't trust anyone. But in this novel, because we're in the dude's head the whole time, we know he's fucked up and we know that, like, he's fucking scary. And so there were just 11 hours of me listening to this dude just being creepy. I wouldn't even really know what genre to put this in. For me, this wasn't a thriller or like a mystery or anything like that, because from the beginning on, it was completely clear that this guy is fucked up and what's gonna happen in this story. And like, I was just kind of like, why am I listening to this? Like, I know where this is gonna go. I didn't even get the intrigue of the second person narration. I felt like I was missing something big with this novel. I was like, I just don't really get it. But then what really pissed me off is that there is a lesbian character in this book who ends up being like a predator and like sexually assaulting another woman, and I just wanted to fucking die, because like, this whole book is about this dude being really, really awful. Like, there's so much awful stuff in this book. Did you really have to include like a lesbian predator trope? Because it is a trope. Like, it is definitely a fucking trope. And so I was just kind of like, this book is awful enough. Like, do you have to literally put in really, really was not a fan of this book in a lot of different ways. I can only say I really, really wish I hadn't read it, honestly. I just saw this in my notes, but I also think that it wasn't unique. Like, just because you make this from the perspective of the dude in second person doesn't necessarily mean your story is unique. Like, it's not. Like, nothing. If you've read like 2-3 other thrillers about like a relationship between a man and a woman, like, you know the story. I don't know. I was just uncomfortable reading it. Like, I just didn't get the intrigue. I gave it 2 out of 5 stars. And then the next disappointment was Bird Box by Josh Mellerman, a book that I'm pretty sure was hugely hyped on BookTube when I first joined. So it's been quite a while, and I've always been like so intrigued by it. Really wanted to read it. Then obviously, movie came out just recently. More people have been picking it up again. A lot of people have obviously been talking about it. And I was like, you know what? It's finally fucking time for me to read it. Now that the second wave is happening, you should just, you know, latch onto it before it's over again. And so that's what I did. It was just really boring and unsatisfying. Like, literally one of the biggest disappointments of my life. One of those books that you like read and you're kind of just like, I'm sure this has a point eventually. Like, I'm sure eventually I'm gonna be like, oh, I love this journey. But no, like, I literally finished this book and I was like, why? What did I read this for? I don't know. And like, for me, it wasn't even like, you know, the end of the book or the fact that, and you've probably heard about this, so I don't think this is like a spoiler, but the people, they see something and that like kind of makes them like kill other people and kill themselves. You never actually find out what the thing is that they see, and you also never actually find out what exactly happens to a person. It's always like vaguely there, but not like, you just don't really know and you never find out. And that honestly didn't even bother me all that much. I think for me, my biggest issue was just that the structure this book had, where it went kind of back and forth between what's recently happening and the past, and how the main character got to where she is right now. It didn't work for me in the context of this novel, because I think it completely took away from the story. Sometimes you have it and you're like, oh my god, like, how did this character end up where she is now? I want to know. I want to go back to the past. And then it's really intriguing. With this one, because you know this world already, like from the beginning, it's kind of clear what this world is. You kind of know what the threat is, and you kind of know what the issue in this world is. So you're not, like, I was not really intrigued what happened to the character to get where she is at this point. So every time, and like most of the novel is taking place in the past, it just didn't intrigue me. Like, I didn't care, because I was kind of already like, well, I think it's clear what's gonna happen. Like, it's almost inevitable what's gonna happen. Like, and yeah, I guess there was like a twist, but like that, it was really not great or interesting. I don't know. I mean, whatever. I guess Bird Box and You, two very hyped novels that are just now out of my way. I can say I've read them. I can talk with people about them. But for me, Bird Box, honestly, probably even more of a disappointment than You. I was kind of already going into it. I was like, I'm not sure if I will enjoy this anymore. But also I was kind of like, knowing that the genre always has these kinds of things that I don't really like about it. With Bird Box, I was still like thinking, this is going to intrigue me. This is going to be really great. And so, yeah, gave Bird Box 2 out of 5 stars as well. Then I listened to The Girl with 7 Names by Hyun-Se Lee, narrated by Josie Dunn. So this is another memoir by a North Korean defector. After I read Yeonmi Park's memoir a couple of months ago, I asked people for recommendations, and I really kind of looked through Goodreads. I remember that even though nowadays I don't watch Emma Blackery's videos anymore, I knew that she still had a lot of recommendations on North Korea, so I went to her Goodreads and saw that she had a shelf full of North Korea stuff. And so I'm kind of like slowly but surely making my way through more North Korean stories, and this was really good as well. Like, it's always hard to talk about these memoirs because like North Korean defector stories are not enjoyable, obviously, but I think that this is another very valuable memoir, another one where I can only really thank Hyun-Se Lee for giving us the story, for opening up like that. It is very different than Yeonmi Park's story. I feel like everybody's memoir has value to it. Obviously, you know, your life story has value. But I like that her journey was so different than Yeonmi Park's journey. I loved reading about her family and all those things going on there. It's just like, I can only recommend it if you want to read more about North Korea and stories of North Korean defectors. I think this actually had a little bit more insight into the life in North Korea. So for that, I'd definitely recommend it. But both, both memoirs are great. Both memoirs have their values, and both memoirs are very different. Like, their journeys of these two women are very different. But I really think that this was just a great read. I did really like the audiobook as well. I would definitely recommend that too. And I think that everybody should read a, memoir of a North Korean defector. I think this is very, very important stuff that a lot of people still kind of like to ignore. Don't always love to give memoirs ratings, but I did give this one a 4 out of 5 stars. Then I read A Prince on Paper by Alyssa Cole. This is the third and I think final book in the Reluctant Royal series. I got an arc of this. I was super, super happy, and then just ended up not being able to finish it in time with all of the moving stuff and all of this other stuff going on. So I never actually got to do a video review of it, but at the same time, I am kind of glad that I ended up not being able to do a video review of it, because hear me out. I don't have that much positive to say, but I have a lot of negative stuff to say. But that's not because the negative outweighed the positive. It's just because everything positive is basically what I've already said about the first 2 books. It is sexy, it is funny, it has real issues in there there's just a lot going on in these books. I think actually this one for me was the most serious one, or like the least humorous one. There were little laugh out loud moments for me in this book, but then again I listened to the first 2 books on audio, so the way the narrator delivers those could already be, you know, why that was. But I just think that the male main character, Johann, I think that his journey is just like very serious, and there's just a lot of stuff going on. And so I don't mean this in a negative way at all. I mean this in a very good way. I loved Johann's development, and I also loved the female main character's development, which I cannot believe it, but I can't think of the name. But I love both characters' developments. I'm just saying, as like an observation, to me it felt less humorous than the other 2 books. But other than that, if you've enjoyed the first 2 books, I think you're gonna enjoy this one as well. But I just had some issues with Johann and his fictional country he's from and the fictional language he's speaking. It all just feels a little bit weird, but I want to talk about it because like Americans don't really realize this kind of stuff, and so I feel like it's kind of my duty to talk about this. It's this fictional country that's obviously basically Liechtenstein, but is kind of called Lichtenburg, whatever. The people there speak a mix of French and German, and at first I wasn't sure if it was supposed to be like French and German with a dialect, or like just like a little bit like mixed, whatever. But literally it is said by one of the characters that Lichtenburgisch is just a mix of French and German. So I'm just wondering, if Lichtenburgisch is only just a mix of French and German, like why is the French or the German not correct? Like there's just so many mistakes in this book, and like I was kind of just like, the whole time I was like giving Alyssa Cole the benefit of the doubt. I was like, this is, you know, she's probably like trying to go for a dialect and like not too much mixing the 2 languages and all. But then literally she used a letter that does not exist in either of those languages. It's an E with like, you know, double dots on top of it, which it's not in our alphabets. It exists for phonetical reasons, but like in the way it was used, it would not get used in either languages phonetically. And things like that. As someone whose native language is German, and as someone who knows enough, especially written French, it just felt so fucking cringy, and I couldn't fucking take it. At some point, I was just kind of like, whatever, I just try to ignore it. But again, it's hard, especially if one of the languages is your native language. And then also, really great, one of the characters in the story comes out as non-binary, which obviously I am really, really appreciative of. But Alyssa Cole had a huge chance to talk about the fact that there are no gender-neutral pronouns in German or in French. But instead, it kind of got glossed over. It was kind of mentioned by the character, like, I know that our language and our culture is very, like, focused on masculine and feminine. So it was kind of, like, slightly brought up. But then literally it was said like, but we already have the royal we, so the royal they shouldn't be that hard to use. And like, that's just not how language works. Like, you can't just say like, oh, because we use the royal we, you can just use the royal they. Like, I don't really know how exactly it is in French, but I'm pretty sure that in French the people are also just starting to, you know, introduce completely new pronouns for gender neutral pronouns. That's because, as in German, it does not exist. They, as a singular pronoun, does not exist, and you cannot make it happen. If you could make it happen, we would have made it happen like 5 years ago. It's just not, it doesn't, you can't, it does not work, you can't do it. And so just seeing someone just kind of being so like casual about it when this is such a huge issue in the queer communities of these languages, it makes me fucking mad. Like, really. I just hate it. I fucking hate it. And the more I think about it, the more it makes me mad, because, again, it could have been a platform to really talk about this. And instead, it was just kind of glossed over. And I'm genuinely wondering, like, does she understand that a lot of Americans will read this and be like, oh, it's that easy to like just use they in German as well. Like, why are the Germans making such a big deal out of it? Like, it's not. No, we can't use they if we're singular. Oh, and it's just pissing me off. It's obviously, like, you can tell. And I saw someone talk about the fact that also the way Johann talks is really not how a bilingual person talks, which honestly I didn't even think about, because I got so used to authors using two languages like that I didn't even really pay attention to it. But it's so true. That person pointed it out and I was like, yeah, I don't talk like that. And it always would just be like these catchphrases that Johann would use again and again, like, komm du willst. I'm just like, no. I'm cringing so bad. So, yeah, just not a fan of that. I still really enjoyed the book. I think this is actually my second favorite after Duke by Default. This fact doesn't really change that I just love these characters and that I love this kind of whole universe around it. It makes me angry because it just shows this whole bigger problem. And again, I just feel like I need to talk about it because I know a lot of people will just not notice because they don't speak another language or they don't speak these languages. I just wanted to point it out. It's really important to me. And I gave A Prince on Paper 4.5 out of 5 stars. Again, did not really affect my love of the book or my enjoyment in general, but at the same time, I kind of want to like just give it one less star just for that. Then I listened to the audiobook of The Mighty Heart of Sonny St. James by Ashley Herring Blake, narrated by Chloe Cannon, and this is a middle grade contemporary, and I didn't really know at all what I was getting myself into. I just knew that it was Ashley Herring Blake and it was a sapphic middle grade. I thought it was a really beautiful story. It has a lot of internalized homophobia. I just really think that there was a lot of tough things in there, a lot of tough family relationship stuff as well. I just think that it was a very strong middle grade novel, and I think that the way Ashley Herring Blake wrote about the internalized homophobia is going to be something that a lot of young people that will read this book will relate to and will like question stuff that they are kind of thinking about, and I just really love that. The love interest Quinn is also Puerto Rican, and it gets talked about just a little bit, you know, just the fact that she has like brown skin and stuff like that. And yeah, I just really love this. I think this is a really great middle grade book, and I think that if you are a lover of queer YA, then this book will absolutely be for you as well. I gave The Mighty Heart of Sonny St. James 4 out of 5 stars. And then finally I listened to Ivy Aberdeen's Letter to the World, also by Ashley Herring Blake, also narrated by Chloe Cannon. I mean, honestly, Ivy Aberdeen's Letter, it's a little bit shorter, and for me I didn't quite love it as much as The Mighty Heart of Sonny St. James, but both of them are just beautiful, and like both of them have like just really important topics in there and really important messages. I think that especially the way that Ivy Aberdeen's Letter to the World ended was really good and also really realistic. It made me really happy to read this ending. Like, it deals with a fucking tornado, it deals with your house being torn apart by a tornado, and it's so interesting how much that has like a layer to it that's like a physical thing that happened, but at the same time a tornado kind of happened in her family anyway, or that's what the main character feels like anyway. I don't know, I just really fucking appreciate Ashley Herring Blake so much for writing these sapphic middle grades and for just giving us these young queer characters and their experiences, and the fact that like she just so seamlessly puts these sapphic elements into these stories while still having so many other important issues that you find in middle grade novels. I think it very much shows that a middle grade can just be the very usual middle grade that you just know and love, but just with a little bit of like, oh my god, I might be falling in love with a girl kind of crap, you know? I just really appreciate the way it was written and how it was like, it were so important topics, but at the same time it was also kind of just like, doesn't have to be a big deal. Like, it can be a big deal to you, but it doesn't have to be, and it doesn't have to be to the people, you know, around you and all of that. Just so many great messages all around. Love Ashley Herring Blake for these. I hope she never stops writing. Like, please just give me thousands more of sapphic middle grade stories. I love these. I would highly recommend them both. Again, I did end up giving Ivy Aberdeen's Letter to the World 3.5 out of 5 stars because, again, I just enjoyed The Mighty Heart of Sonny St. James a little bit more, but loved both. So yeah, that is everything that I read in April. I know I made this very, very long again. I'm sorry. I just can't help my fucking self. And yeah, let me know what you read in April, if there's anything exciting going on in your life. And yeah, I make new videos every Wednesday and Sunday with occasional reviews on Friday. So click subscribe to never miss anything and hit that little bell so you get notified as well. And thank you so much for watching. I guess I'll see you soon. Bye!